Howdy folks, Gabriel here, just soaking up some late afternoon sun, late evening I should say, a little after 7 o'clock, end of August, end of the summer, what little summer we had that is, which was like 3 genuinely hot and sunny days. So it goes. I'm headed to warmer climes within a month or so. So this video is on the subject of should we care what other people think about us? And I've seen, various videos of different people talking about, how to stop caring what other people think about us. And I think that is important to an extent. And as is so often the case, it's really about finding some kind of balance. I think to not care whatsoever what anybody else thinks about you is at the least incredibly foolish and would be borderline psychopathic. We are all reflecting one another, and we are all learning from one another through that reflection. We all affect each other as we go about our relationships. And, if any of us was absolutely perfect, whatever that means, if that's possible, if we had, absolute perfect energy for every situation just inherently, then maybe it wouldn't matter. But that is obviously not the case. We go throughout our lives, we're, feeling things out, trying to make sense of the world and how to be successful and find what we want in life and, have, sane and loving relationships. And it's all, trial and error, basically. We're just doing the best we can with what we have. And one of the most important ways that we learn about ourselves is through the reflections that we get from others, telling us, I didn't appreciate when you said this, or, what are you, an idiot? Why did you do that? Like, who would do that? If you do something or other stupid, to not care whatsoever what anybody thinks about us is completely absurd. We need these reflections in order to understand who we are, in order to understand how we're affecting other people, in order to understand our choices and the success or failures, the happiness or pain that comes about as a result of them, and what others think about us is important. Now, that being said, we don't want our identity to be based around, what other people think about us completely. Not at all. That's a great way to have no conception of who you really are, because an important way that we, establish who we are is by discovering, what is within us and claiming that and broadcasting that out into the world, just to have others be a mirror and have them tell us who we are. You're never going to figure out who you are that way. So it's really a balancing act of expressing yourself, just being yourself as much as you possibly can, and not being afraid to cross social lines and do things and say things that might not be the norm, and just try to be ourselves as much as we can, while recognizing that you can cross the line and you can access parts of yourself or bring forth parts of yourself that you realize you don't really want to be expressing, or to embrace as part of yourself. If you're being an asshole, then you don't want to keep going down that track once you figure it out. As always, it's just not about following some rule of I'm not going to care what anybody else thinks about me, but being in the moment and sensing things out and trying to be authentically yourself as much as possible, while still taking into consideration the perspectives others are reflecting back to you. But I do think that finding out who you really are, independent from what others think about you, is extremely important and is one of the basic fundamental elements of the spiritual path, is that of going within, finding out who you are, finding out what is inside you, and expressing that, bringing it forward so that you can come into a greater self-knowledge. And so I will just, put a couple things out there. Basically, my spiritual path, I would say, began in the spring of 1989 when I was a senior in high school. And the previous couple of years, I'd been on a pretty, high school party path of, doing lots of drugs and just having fun, and my grades went south, and, I failed U.S. history because it was after lunch, and every lunch I would get stoned with my friends, and so come senior year, then finally I just decided I was, headed in the wrong direction and needed to make a change. And so I stopped using drugs and started going on hikes. I was living in Oakland, California, up in the Oakland Hills, and started going on hikes on this bike path. And hiking alone is really one of the best ways to, be able to self-reflect and look within and just take a step back from life and look at the bigger picture and figure out, what do I really, want in my life, and where am I going, and to get away from all the distractions of TV and, friends and what they think about you, and shopping and what's going on in the news and all this kind of stuff. Just get away from that and, hear the wind and the trees and everything, and, look within and try to figure out, who am I and what do I want in this life going forward. And, obviously there's a million other things, meditation and doing yoga and spiritual reading, the list goes on. So, but that was really how my, path of inner reflection began, was just going off on hikes into nature, and just in the process making that choice. Okay, I'm going to take, sort of the reins of my life and figure out what I want to do with my life. That is such an important component of life, is taking that step away from society and what everybody else thinks about you and thinks you should be doing, and decide for yourself and then go forward from there. So that's my thoughts on the subject. Have a great day. Take care.